You flip a switch, the light comes on. It's a simple act, one we do every day without thinking. We expect power to be there, a silent partner in our lives. But what if that certainty vanished? A political fight over metal and tariffs now threatens a vital connection between the US and Canada, putting the very light in your room at risk. Millions of Americans depend on Canadian power every day. Now, that strength is being tested. The outcome could directly impact your family, your job, and your safety. The simple act of turning on a light is tied to a complex web of diplomacy that is beginning to fray. For over a century, the United States and Canada have been partners in power. What began as small power plants sharing electricity across the border has grown into one of the world's most integrated electricity grids. Dozens of high-voltage lines now stitch the two countries together, balancing energy needs across a continent. Canada, with its vast hydropower resources, produces more clean electricity than it needs and sells the surplus to the United States. For American states, especially in New England and the Midwest, this is a critical resource, helping prevent blackouts during peak demand. The trade isn't one way. The US also exports power north when needed, creating a resilient, efficient system for both countries. This partnership reduces the need for expensive, polluting backup plants and keeps electricity affordable. Each year, tens of billions of kilowatt hours cross the border, a cornerstone of North American energy security. Grid operators in both countries work in constant communication, guided by physics and engineering, not politics. This deep integration has allowed regions to thrive, knowing they have a reliable backup next door. The system was built on mutual benefit and trust. But that foundation is now under threat. The stability of both nations' grids depends on keeping that trust alive. The trust supporting this energy partnership began to crack under a trade war. It started with US tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. Canada retaliated, and the relationship soured. As tensions escalated, the focus shifted from manufactured goods to something far more fundamental: energy. Canadian officials began to suggest that electricity exports could be used as leverage. The message: if you target our industries, we can target your power supply. This was a dangerous escalation, moving the conflict into the infrastructure that underpins daily life. Suddenly, US energy companies had to consider the risk that Canadian suppliers might be forced to breach contracts for political reasons. The idea that a political leader could order the lines to be cut was unprecedented. The grid, once a symbol of seamless integration, has become a potential battleground. A decision made in a capital city could have immediate, severe effects hundreds of miles away. If Canada were to cut off electricity exports, the consequences for parts of the US would be immediate and severe. Regions like New England and New York rely on Canadian hydropower to meet peak demand. Without that power, grid operators would be forced to implement rolling blackouts to prevent a catastrophic collapse. The economic fallout would be just as damaging. Wholesale power prices would skyrocket, and the cost would hit families and businesses hard. Manufacturers and tech companies could face crippling operational costs, threatening jobs and growth. There's also an environmental cost. Canadian hydropower is clean and renewable. Losing it means burning more fossil fuels. This would increase pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, setting back climate goals. Ambitious projects to bring more Canadian hydropower south would stall, threatening billions in investment. No company would invest in new infrastructure if the political risk is too high. The conflict not only threatens our current energy supply, but also sabotages our best hope for a cleaner, more sustainable future. The stakes are enormous. A trade war over electricity could reshape the future of North American energy. Grid instability isn't just an economic problem. It's a crisis that affects people in deeply personal ways. For families relying on medical equipment or the elderly needing elevators, a blackout is life-threatening. Hospitals would be forced onto backup generators, which aren't designed for long-term use. Schools would close, businesses would lose thousands in spoiled food, and commerce would grind to a halt. In our digital age, a power outage means a communication blackout, cutting people off from emergency services and loved ones. The psychological toll would be immense, with anxiety and uncertainty replacing the security we take for granted. In winter, a blackout could leave millions without heat, leading to public health emergencies. The economic pain would hit the most vulnerable hardest. forcing impossible choices between keeping the lights on and buying food or medicine. The digital divide would widen as children without reliable power fall behind. This isn't just a trade dispute. It's a conflict that deepens social and economic inequalities. The most vulnerable would pay the highest price for a political failure. This crisis exposes a clash between the pragmatic world of engineering and the volatile world of politics. For a century, the US-Canada grid has been managed by engineers, not politicians. Their guiding principle, reliability. Now, politics threatens to override this practicality. Restricting electricity flow would be a political act, a form of economic warfare. Politicians are treating vital infrastructure as a bargaining chip, ignoring engineers' warnings. The erosion of trust is the most damaging consequence. Even if the power is never cut, the threat alone chills future cooperation and investment. Utilities may turn to more expensive, dirtier alternatives. Our highly optimized, interconnected system is vulnerable not because of technology, but because of trust. The future of energy security depends on whether cooperation can survive this new era of confrontation. The United States and Canada stand at a crossroads. One path leads to further conflict, higher prices, a less reliable grid, and more pollution. Both countries would waste billions making their grids self-sufficient, killing the dream of a clean, integrated energy market. Trust would be shattered, and climate goals would slip out of reach. But there's another path, stepping back from the brink and reaffirming cooperation. Our shared energy infrastructure is too important to be used as a political pawn. Resolving disputes through diplomacy, not threats, is the only way forward. By choosing cooperation, we can restore trust and build a stronger, cleaner, more resilient energy future. What's at stake is more than electricity. It's the future of the US-Canada relationship, our climate, and our daily security. The choice is clear: descend into a costly power play, or recommit to the partnership that has powered our continent for generations. The light switch on the wall is a symbol of this choice. Will it be a source of anxiety and uncertainty, or a symbol of reliability and cooperation? The decision rests with us.